Hello, beautiful soul, and welcome to Intuitive Creators Spotlight, where we shine a light on beautiful souls who have embraced unique journeys and inspiring journeys too. Today, we have here with us Eleanor. She has a very interesting path that she has been walking on, and I'm so grateful and honored to have her here with us. Eleanor has been helping people with their homes and pets. She is a professional pet and house sitter, and now she is at a place in her life where she wants to share all of her knowledge and expertise with other people who want to do the same. But we will dive deeper into her story today, and I cannot wait for that. Hi, Leonora. Welcome to this space.
Hello, Stella. It's great to be here.
I'm so excited about our conversation, about this interview, and I can't wait for everybody to hear your story too. So, would you like to share with us what was the point when you just know you're going to become a full-time house sitter? Like, when did that happen?
Wow, good question. The actual year was 2002. I was already working for a corporate in a business for an insolvency firm in Barnsley, and this is where my accent comes from. So I was working full time, dealing with insolvency work, and I had a car accident on the way to work. That's what it was, completely out of the blue, and I happened to damage my hip, so I was off long term sick for 7 years in total because they couldn't find anything that was wrong at the time. My wonderful boss kept my job open for me during all that time, wanted me to go back. So it was a long journey. I was off for a long time, and from all of that, I've been 7 years off operations, scans, all those kind of things. I finally got to see somebody in London, and he soon found out what was wrong. I had an operation, and after 6 weeks of being on crutches and things and being at home, my cousin rang me out of the blue asking me to look after her pets. And I was living at my mum and dad's at the time, and but my dad's face lighting up, thinking, "Oh, great! A few weeks without Eleanor at home." So he gladly helped me pack my bags, and I stayed at my cousin's for 2 weeks, and I loved it. I loved the responsibility of looking after the pets and actually having some space to myself.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, and that's basically how it started. It was completely out of the blue, not planned. You would
Mm.
think it would come from it's usually coming from people that love animals the whole life, always wanted to be in animal care, and that's where many pet sitters start. And
Mm.
my journey was just slightly different from that.
Different. Yeah. And there was a very interesting thing that you mentioned, that after all of these years, going to hospitals and going from surgeries to scans and surgeries and scans and all of that, it was such an amazing thing that eventually you connected with the person who helped you get away from that big chain of visits to hospitals. But then you said something that when your cousin invited you to do to have the first experience of home sitting, you felt that feeling of responsibility. What else did you feel with that? Because I think that was such an important thing for you to almost like reconnect with something powerful within you. What else did you feel with the responsibility that came with it?
Yes, it was. It was quite daunting, I must say, because during my 7 years, I was living back at my mum and dad's, so I had, there was always kind of looking after me because I couldn't walk around. I was in constant pain every day. I was on morphine all the time. I was barely existing. I lost a lot of weight, so mum and dad were always really looking after me. And then that day that my dad basically dropped me off and drove away, and I'm like, oh, I'm in a house in an area I don't know, The dogs I've barely met once or twice before. There were 2 dogs and 3 cats. I barely knew them, and yeah, it was actually quite refreshing, and I could actually like breathe a little bit. Actually, kind of remember that I can do things. Yes, I might not be able to physically do the things I used to do, but my mind is the same. I still have the same thoughts and feelings, and I'm a very confident, stubborn person. I like to do the things the way I want, and part of that had been taken away from me.
Mm.
And when I realized that I was looking after the dogs and the cats, and they relied on me, and I could do something, that was a great feeling. That gave me a boost, a real buzz.
Mm. Would you say that this was part of your emotional and spiritual healing journey? You
I believe it was. Yes, for
know?
sure. It definitely made me, because I had time where there was nobody there. There was nobody asking if I was all right, or when's your next appointment, or you know, do you need taken somewhere or anything. I had to pretty much stay in the house for 2 weeks by myself. So I had my crutches still, so
Mhm.
that was fun. But I managed, and I had the time where there was nobody there asking me if I was all right. I had to be all right regardless, and yeah, it made me just remember that I was a strong person before this, and I can still be strong again.
Wow. It is such a gift to be able to have that space where you reconnect with your own power. And what an amazing initiative from your cousin too, right? To invite you to do that, and just try it for yourself. And then I know that after this moment, or during that time, you went back to your job and you were working there. And I know that suddenly you started receiving different calls. Tell us about that. Like, how did you feel when you started having these random calls, and what were they about?
Yes, my boss, like I said, he kept my job open for those 7 years, and I had a phased return to work. So instead of going back straight to 5 days a week, which would have been a little bit too much, I went back 2 days for like a few months, and then 3 days and 4 days. My cousin Donna, at the time, was a vet nurse, and unbeknown to me, after I'd looked after dogs and cats in a house and everything for a fortnight, she'd gone back to work after a holiday and started telling everybody that she'd got a pet sitter, and how wonderful it was to be able to just leave everything at home, not have to take your dogs or your cats to boarding kennels and cattery and wonder about them and pick them up and come home. The fact that she could just leave me, I must stress, she did need to leave me chocolate. It's imperative that chocolate is left in the house. So there was lots of chocolate left. And she'd had a great time, stress-free holiday. So she'd come back, gone to work, and started telling everybody that how amazing it was. She could just not worry about anything. I sent her daily updates, everything was great. And so people wanted to know who I was, and my
Mhm.
number maybe would have been helpful. So yes, I started getting random phone calls. I'd be at work and I'd have my phone in the drawer and it would start vibrating and ringing, and we're not supposed to answer phone calls at work. So I'm trying to like quickly turn it off and catch them up in my lunch hour, and they'd be ringing me saying, "You're the cat woman," or "You're that dog person," or "Donna says you're brilliant at pet sitting. Can you look after my cats? Can you look after my dogs? I'm going away on holiday." Most of the conversation would start, "Hi, I'm going on holiday," and I'm like, "That's nice. What are you telling me for?" But when I realized why they was ringing me and it was Donna, I did thank her. And yeah, it just started from there. I started working around work. I would go to work and then finish at tea time, go to their house, look after their dogs or cats, whatever they'd got, feed them, maybe walk them, attention, let them out at night before bed. I'd go to bed, sleep in their bed, wake up the next morning, do the same thing, feed them, exercise them, go to work, and repeat. And I'd do that for quite some time.
So they were thinking, who is that mysterious girl? And then
Exactly.
calling you. But that's so interesting that in a way, this career chose you. You know, sometimes people go after careers and they
Mhm.
put in so much like study and effort and energy, which, you know, for some careers you need to do that for some of them. But in your case, it's like your career chose you. So what was that point when you just said, you know what, I'm just gonna go into it full time and that's it?
Wow. Yes, there was one moment. There was one moment actually when that did actually happen. I'd been doing this about 2 years maybe, where I was still working and pet sitting in between. And I felt obliged to stay at work because my boss had been so amazing and so supportive, keeping my job open for 7 years. I must say I'd only started about 12 months before that. I'd not been there long before he
Mhm.
decided to leave my job open. So I must have been doing something right for him to
Yeah.
leave my job open for that length of time. So I felt obliged to kind of stay there for everything he'd done for me. Um, but as the months were going by and I was spending more and more time in other people's houses and moving around and doing the admin that comes with kind of running a business, really, I
Yes.
had all this responsibility.
Mhm.
You know, the responsibility of everything had been taken away from me for 7 years. I didn't have any responsibility, no cares in the world. I wasn't doing anything.
Yeah.
Now I'm back at work. I'm getting physically better and I'm answering phone calls and I'm sending quotes and I'm chasing things up and I'm now in control again. And it was a lovely feeling. And I was at a cat sit for a week in Doncaster and I was sat on the sofa and the cat was on my lap fast asleep. And I was thinking, there must be a way that I can do this for my life for full time and not have to go and sit in an office 5 days a week. I want to be able to do this, but there wasn't like a need for it back when I started, and you were not on a lot of money at all. It was not sustainable as if a
Mhm.
full-time job. It was something you did in the summer, a bit of extra cash. Definitely not seen as anything remotely like an actual job. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm like, there's got to be a way, and I slowly started increasing my prices and doing it a little bit more and double booking myself. I'd be up at 5 a.m. some mornings, not getting into 11 o'clock at night, getting as many clients as I could, anything. Um, yeah, and then I just decided, well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be a little bit cheeky. I'm going to ask my boss for um, a year off. And I'm going to say to him, right, I really want to do this pet sitting, but I can't. I know that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and forget about it. And I'm going to try and stay where I should be in a
Mhm.
safe job that pays me a wage, that pays my house, pays my holidays, pays my cards, everything I should be doing. But I want a year off to go and do the things to get them out of my system, to go and do any pet sitting, holidays, bucket list, get it out of my system. Then I will basically try and forget all that, come and work for you, and I'll never bother you again. I'll stay there for life and retire, and that would be it. I knew full well he would not give me 12 months. I knew he'd give me only 6 at a push, but I only wanted 6 anyway, really.
Oh, that was a good negotiation skill right there.
So I went one morning, I went in, I said, I've got a deal for you. Now, my ex-employer loves deals, he loves things like this. So I went in and I said, oh, look, I love working here, but I've worked up and I've been really good coming back to work, and all my cases are up to date. I've made you loads of money. I would love 12 months off. I've got a bucket list. And he's like, you've got no chance. You can't leave for 12 months. I'm like, oh, it's a real shame. He's like, how about 6? I'm like, oh, that would be awesome. 6 months is better. It's better than nothing. Whatever. So yes, I had 6 months off, and I did one thing on my 20-item bucket list, because the rest of the time I was pet sitting all the
Mm,
time, every day. Every single day of those 6 months, I was pet sitting.
wow.
And yeah, I'd managed to save up enough money so that for those 6 months, I didn't have to worry about my mortgage and my bills. I'd saved up from my income from my work. So I worked like crazy for those 6
Mm,
months, but I knew I didn't have to. I was doing it because I wanted to. And in
mhm.
those 6 months, I was telling everybody, look, I'm not at work right now. You've got me all day instead of just morning and evening. And they're like, "Oh, that's amazing. We'll book you, we'll pay you more.
Yeah,
And we'd love it if you can stay there all day." So for the 6 months, I was just there all the time. I upped my prices. I got much more clients. It got to the end of the 6 months, Stella, and I'm thinking, I can't go back. Can't go back.
yeah.
That was hard.
Mm. And usually that moment when you tell yourself, I can't go back, that when you get to that point, that's strong. Like, and even if you're forcing yourself to go back, you just can't.
Yeah.
Because, when a big path like this is choosing you, you understand that you created a connection, you did the work, you looked at all the angles, perspectives, and you understand that this is what you are meant to be doing for however long, from there, but you understand that that's what you're doing now, is just really powerful. And I know that with the job that you've done, Eleanor, and I know you mentioned some of the things that you did at that job, but I know that in more human language, what you were
Mhm.
basically doing, you were helping those people who were into debt and just about to go into bankruptcy to kind of find a way to not have that label of being bankrupt. So I understand that in this kind of job, you had to look at a lot of rules, regulations, finances, laws. What would you say from that job? What did you have from that job or that experience that helped to you in your current experience now with home sitting and pet sitting?
Um, it was a lot of the things like I use Excel and Word a lot. Those kind of things. Excel is, yes, a lifesaver for me. So I basically used Excel. I used my time management things. I'm very good at creating documents, like professional legal sounding documents, um, which make my business stand out a little bit more from the other people that were doing it pet sitting like part-time or something as some summer holiday. So I
Mm-hmm.
had a lot of paperwork involved. It helped me collect a lot of information I needed about the house and the pets, and um it helped me with the wording for my emails and how to save things and using the computer in general and having a telephone voice and all those things I pulled through from my work and added them to my pet sitting.
And then you took all of this and you infused into your current path. And now I know that you have been working at putting like all of the forms and questions that you've been asking throughout the years into something that feels like a solid foundation for your journey now, but also something that can be a solid foundation for other people who maybe would want to do the same kind of work. So how did you come up with this idea or this
Yeah.
new like chapter of your life that you're stepping into?
Oh, you have some good questions. um, it just it just occurred to me that after all this time, when I started, there was hardly anybody doing this, Stella. I was very much on my own, and I didn't have there was no one I could turn to help support. I don't know what this happens. What if the dog does this? What if the cat is this? I had to work it all out myself. And now there are many, many, many pet and house sitters. And I feel from looking on Facebook and other platforms that there's a lot of very many questions asked, like I was asking when I first started. And I was thinking, I wonder if I can create an online school or a course or something that can say, look, I know after 17 years of doing this now, I know what it's about, and I can help you so you can save so much time and effort learning from my mistakes and what I did, and I can help you get there much quicker and faster and saner, hopefully.
Mm. Wow, that's a huge one because when you step onto a journey, yes, you can see like you look at somebody's path and you can see the success they were able to achieve, but then there is so much that you have to go through in order to figure out like what is the best thing, what is the best way, approach, and so on, in order to get to that level of success. So, what would you say are some important factors to consider for somebody who is thinking about stepping onto this kind of career?
Um, it's exhausting mentally and physically. That's a big part of it, I think. I think people see um you walking down the street with a dog that's well behaved and it's gorgeous weather outside and it's warm and it's sunny and everything's great. Or there's a cat purring on your lap and you're watching your favorite film on Netflix and it seems easy. But it's not, in a way that you are constantly alert. You may be sat on somebody's sofa watching telly, but your mind is always working, thinking, do they need to be fed? Is it medication time? Are they going to want to go out? Is there a delivery coming? Is it bin day? Is it this? Is it that? It's a lot. Do they need an update? Do I need to do a video while the cat is fast asleep to show that the clients that are on holiday, that everything's okay at home? There's a lot of things that go into it where we might send a snippet on Facebook and everything looks perfect, but behind the scenes, it's a lot. Moving around from house to house is a lot. Packing up all your bags, making sure that you've got everything, and then driving somewhere in an area you might not know, the neighbours you might not know, the dog
Mm,
you've probably only met once or twice, and then remembering to pack everything back up again and then drive home, and then the next day you're likely to be somewhere else and it's a repeat.
mhm,
So you're sat on the sofa physically, you're sleeping in their bed, but there is always a part of you that's not quite settling because it's not your house, it's not your furniture and ornaments, pictures on the walls, it's not your space. So it's getting used to that, as well as running a business and the massive responsibility it takes to look after someone else's pets.
mm. So how do you find the strength and uh, the energy and this? How do you find that drive, right, to go through all of these challenges and everything that you've described that's going on behind the scenes? What do you do, or what did you do in your case?
Um, I'm quite a driven person anyway, so I like to keep pushing myself, and I will go and learn how to adapt. You'll learn different ways. I know I can pack my bag like that now to go away,
Mhm.
and when it will help when I go away next week, I already know exactly what I need to pack because I do it for a living. So I never forget anything on holiday. It does help you in different parts of your life. I'm really good at judging how long it will take me to get to a certain place because I've Google mapped so many places that I can guess before Google Map does how long it's going to take me to get there. You learn to find little things, even if it's tired, you're tired. Maybe the dog's pulling on a lead, maybe it's raining, it's snowing, it's cold. There is all that. But I can say, and on heart, that even if there's 6 or 12 months that have gone by, I've not seen a dog, as soon as I get to that house again, they know me. They
Wow.
recognize me and they're jumping up, and it could be a year. and they know who I am. And that feeling is amazing. And having that connection with the clients, we send each other Christmas cards, and I'll text them randomly in between sits, just saying, how are you? We're all friends on my Facebook profile. And the more I am professional but friendly,
Yeah.
we can stay in each other's lives. So I get to know their pets better, they get to know me better, and I know that they'll never search for another pet sitter.
Wow, this is so magical, and I loved how you described, the real things that are happening, and also the real joy that comes with it as well. And yeah, like with everything in life, we go through different like light moments and shadow moments, but we have so much that we learn and experience from both types of energies, and that's amazing. Um, if you were to think about one memorable moment that you've experienced during this journey or career, something that just stayed with you, what would that moment be?
There's one that just pops into my head. There was one where I'd not been pet sitting for long. I think I'd only been going about 5 or 6 months. And I went to this house, and this gentleman wanted me to look after his two German Shepherds. One was white and she was huge.
Mm.
And he just said, just sit with them, that's all. And they're likely to sit on you on the sofa. And they did, both of them.
Wow.
I was out walking them twice a day, and they were really good on the lead. But the white German Shepherd, she knew she was a bit of a diva. She knew she could get away with things, and he would let her. So if she wanted to jump on the sofa, he would let her. If she would paw or whine or something, he would get up and give her a treat. He would put her ball in a certain area in the kitchen, in a certain position, because that's where she liked it. Now, I would feed her, but I wouldn't exactly put this ball exactly where she quite wanted it. I wouldn't give in to her if she whined or if she pawed at me. She was looked after, not indulged. There's a difference. I was there for one day, and at first she was like, well, we're not friends, and that's that. But after about 4 hours, she started coming round, and we were quite friendly towards the end. And he turned up, and I'm like, she's been great. And he's going, yeah, I can see from the videos. Thanks very much. I'll ring you if I need you again. I'm like, okay, fine. So I left, and that was that. And then the day after, I got a phone call from the same man, and I said, "Oh, you're going away?" He went, "No, I'm not going away. I want to know what you've done to my dog."
Oh.
And I'm like, "I haven't done anything." He went, "Oh, right. Well, she don't seem to mind where her ball is when I gave her breakfast this morning, and she's not whined since I got here." He says, "And that's great, but there is one thing, and I know it sounds strange, and I'll pay you, but can you come round and see her again, because she's on the windowsill in the front lounge looking for you, and she won't come down." So I
Wow.
had to drive over and see the dog again and walk around the park again, and then say, right, I'm definitely going. And then I left, and that was that. But he said, yes, she was whining, pining over you. She wouldn't leave the windowsill. And I would simply just not indulge her. That was the only difference. I'd just not indulge her. I'd kind of like, we'll get on, and that's that. And she loved it, and that's what she needed. And
You did
I
some
can
proper
pick up,
parenting
yeah,
there.
I can pick up on things going, look, I know what it's used to. Shall we have a day off? Shall we just not pander you? How about that?
Yeah.
And she loved it. And it's those kind of things that you just think, I know I'm doing the right thing.
You do the right thing. You did some really proper pet parenting there. It's like, yeah, you love those beautiful little souls, but you have to kind of direct and guide
Yes.
them sometimes as well. And that's beautiful. Wow, what a story. And then also it's very interesting how that man understood that this dog was actually waiting for you or asking for you. So
Mhm.
that's such a good connection that they had to like the pet and the owner.
Yes, it is. It is. As
Mm.
soon as he was watching through the window when I turned up, and she went berserk when my car pulled up. It's crazy. I was there a day. I could understand it if it was like a week, but it was just one day. And it's like, if I can do that in one day, what can I do in a week or 2 weeks with a dog, with a cat? It's
Wow.
amazing.
Wow. Wow. You have all of these gifts that
Yeah.
they were just waiting to be activated, right? And yes, you've been through so much. But these gifts, they were waiting for you, right? Until that moment came, and then you've expressed all of those things in your path and in what you do. So, Eleanor, if you were to share a message with everybody who's watching us and they're thinking, this career sounds interesting. Yes, I understand there are a lot of things that are coming with it, right? And all the things that you need to take care of in the back end and in the background. But at the same time, there is something that I really feel I want to go forward with. What would you say to these people, and how would you be able to guide them as they will connect with you? And by the way, I'll drop all the description and the links of how you can connect with Eleanor in the description of this video if you want to just check her out and connect with her.
Right, well, there is something which is something I am now moving into now, Stella. I am still pet and house sitting. I am, after all this time, deciding to step back. So I'm not doing it 12 months, a year, all the time. I wanted to do it about half that, and let's spend the other 6 months of the 12 months around pet and house sitting mentoring. So if anybody is interested in this kind of work, what is involved, how I did it, what I would suggest in certain situations, then I am looking at moving into mentoring. And the business name for that is called Octopus Moon. And it's basically Octopus Moon Pet Sitting School. And I can share all my tips and advice from all my 17 years. It will be translated in Barnsley accent, as I'm sure you've all got used to by now. And I'm wanting to help with something which is enormous, Stella, which is basically, there are no regulations in pet and house sitting. There are in home boarding, but not pet and house sitting. And I believe in my heart that there needs to be some kind of minimum standard where a pet sitter has support and help, and also as like a pet first aid and insurance and things like that, and knowledge of how to get these things, how much they cost, do they need renewing, when do they need renewing, all those kind of things, so that when and if the government decide to regulate pet and house sitting like they have home boarding, then they can come and ask me about it, and I will sort it out for them. Because if there is nobody, then me being the kind of person that I am, I'd love to think, right, well, I will start it. It has to start with someone. So I would love to start something where I can say, look, grab everybody that has the same vision as me, that wants to be a professional pet sitter and has these credentials or wants to learn how to get these credentials. And then people that have got pets know they can come to us and say, right, I know they've got insurance, I know they're qualified, I know they're doing it with the right frame of mind, and you know you're getting a brilliant pet sitter, and I know I can go into the world and have all these pet sitters that are giving all these amazing standards, all based on what I've learned. That's my next massive mind thing.
Yeah, and it's a big mission, a big project, and you have everything for that. The knowledge, the energy, the mindset, the everything. And I'm so grateful that you've shared all of this really important information with all of us in this interview. I'm really grateful for that. And to everyone who's watching us, thank you for being here today with us. Let us know your thoughts, subscribe to this channel, like this video, and leave us a comment and let you know what you think, if you have any questions too. And also check out the description of this video to connect with Eleanor, especially if you are looking into having this career yourself. So she'll be there for you, helping you and guiding you. Thank you so much, Eleanor. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Bye.